So I'm Russ Riley. I'm Director of Cloud Services here at Innovate.
My name is Kevin Armstrong. I'm the Enterprise Strategy Leader here at Innovate. And when I talk about Innovate, I like to start with our why. Our why is that we transform businesses and the lives that they touch because to us, it's personal. The difference is we listen, we challenge, we collaborate, and we take action.
We have put together a scavenger hunt called the Innovate Adventure. You get to play along for a chance to win a home theater system.
Wait, what do they get to win?
A home theater system.
Like not one of those little tchotchkes with our logo on it?
No. But our clients are going to get a really nice home theater system, the lucky winner. So
sweet. Make sure to take a close look at innovate.com/adventure.
Good luck to all.
Please enjoy our next DynamicsCon session. And don't forget to enter your questions into the conference chat where our speakers are ready to engage with you. Thank you for attending DynamicsCon.
Hello and welcome to our session today. Real talk to real action. Choose your GP cloud adventure. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us here at DynamicsCon and look forward to having this conversation with you. My name is Kevin Armstrong. I'm the Global Enterprise Strategy Leader at Innovate. I have over 20 years of experience in this channel, working with many clients and partners over the years. I enjoy very much what we do and look forward to giving you some points of feedback and hopefully help you on your journey. Russ, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. It's a pleasure to be here, as Kevin said, with everyone. Appreciate you taking the time. So Russ Riley, Director of Cloud Services here with Innovate. And I like to joke, I've been doing this cloud business since 1991 when I had a full head of hair, when it was called a service bureau and application service provider. Now here we are, software as a service. So happy to give some commentary today. And again, thank you for the time.
Awesome. So just to tell you a little bit about Innovate. Innovate is a company that was founded in 2014, and we offer business management solutions with a fresh perspective. You know, at Innovate, we start with our why. Our why is we transform businesses and the lives that they touch because to us, it's personal. And for our over 2,000 clients and over 400 team members, we take that very seriously. And our goal, you can see right down to the title of the session, which is Real Talk. Our goal is to be very open and honest discourse because you are in this process and evaluating technology to serve your business. And at Innovate, we take your outcomes very, very personally. One of the things we're very proud of is as you're doing research around partners to work with, go out and check out Glassdoor. Read what our team members and both past and present have said about Innovate and working with Innovate. Now, as we go through this journey today, there's two things I wanted to mention. Number one, please feel free to enter questions in the chat box so that we can answer them for you towards the end of the presentation. We'll be collecting those and be happy to answer them. Secondarily, please make sure you go to innovate.com/adventure. You have a chance to play to win a home theater package, which is just a great setup. And it's open to our visitors and existing clients. Follow the hints to answer the 5 questions correctly and check the terms and conditions while you're there. So without further ado, let's talk about what we're going to cover today. We're going to start with life happens. We're going to start with the new reality of the world we live in, the challenges we face. What has 2020 brought to us and how is 2021 beginning? We're going to talk about your approach. And what we see are stopgaps and strategies. And we're going to talk a little bit about the risks and the challenges with choosing one versus the other approach. Talk about the cloud journey and harnessing the power of change. We're going to explore some of the offers and templated solutions that Innovate can bring to the table, as well as tax benefits and offers that even Microsoft has put into the marketplace that we think can benefit you. Then we're going to talk about some of our client examples. Because if you don't believe us, hopefully you'll believe them and their results. And ultimately, we'll talk about a more human approach to ERP and the cloud.
Well, I think we all know this slide. I think it says it a lot. Life happens, and boy, did it happen in 2020. And now we are here with our new reality. It's interesting. Kevin and I put this quote out here on purpose. We were asked by a coworker recently to come up with a quote, and we actually both independently brought this quote from George Shaw forward. But obviously, it reads, "The possibilities are numerous once we decide to act and not react." And I think, given last year in 2020 where we are, I think a lot of us probably spent a lot of time reacting, and this is about taking action, taking the adventure, taking control of that. So we both really liked this quote and thought it might be of value to some of you all out here attending this.
Although, Russ, I'm a little concerned that our brains were working the same path that day.
Which should be terrifying to everyone who's listening, actually, if they knew it.
Probably is. So what about your approach? So the world is different. The challenges we face are different. They're very, very much impacting our ability to manage our business. And what we see, quite frankly, are varying approaches. One would be the stopgap approach, where maybe due to some of the challenges out there in the economy, due to things like an election cycle and craziness that was going on in the country, maybe you had to put a Band-Aid or a temporary fix in place. And the other approach that we see is a strategic approach, having a plan or an action or a policy designed to achieve a goal. And the risk with a stopgap is you hear the term knee-jerk reaction. Stopgaps tend to be very risky because they're typically rushed decisions. Now, progress is better than perfection. I think, Russ, you and I can both agree on that. But what happens when you put a short-term stopgap in place is you typically find inefficiencies, solutions with workarounds that affect productivity rather than actually solving for the problem. And the benefit of a strategic approach is that you build an organized technology roadmap. You plan for how you're going to solve the challenges that you face in your day-to-day business, and then you capitalize on the market opportunity because you've been prepared for it. That's what a plan is. That's what strategy is. And it ends up being far more cost-effective. And when it comes to your cloud journey, when it comes to migrating, when it comes to making that change that you've probably been building towards for a number of years, you really have to have a strong, solid plan for that.
Kevin, I just got to say real quick, when you talked about the roadmap ultimately is about the destination. There may be changes along the path. And I think that's why we're having a little fun with this, adventure in ERP. So I think everyone knows, but I just want to say it's about the destination. You may have some changes, but if you have a solid plan, you can accommodate for those. Anyway, just thought I'd jump in, Kevin.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Russ. I mean, the choices that you have when you decide to harness the power of the cloud and embrace that change. Most of you who are attending today are sitting on a legacy platform. Maybe it's a legacy GP platform, right? I love me some Great Plains, love GP. I've worked with it since the 90s. Maybe you're on a legacy nav environment or a legacy SL environment, or even another product that's a non-Microsoft platform, and you're looking to migrate into the D365 platform. The key is that you really understand, what does Business Central bring to the table? And it is a full-powered ERP. I mean, you have financial management, depending on your industry, supply chain management, project management, operations, sales and service management. You have reporting and analytics. On top of that, you have the power of the data model that the cloud can provide you. And Russ and his team, and we're going to talk about this a little bit, they can really work with you. More often than not, while the solution is in the cloud, you've also got solutions that are on-premise. You've got things that are in other clouds like an ADP or other technologies. So it's typically a hybrid cloud environment. And what you really need to do is have a team and a partner around you and working with you to help you plan for how to properly leverage the entire solution. I do want to point out that the other thing that we find that a number of our clients didn't properly evaluate going in, and it's somewhere where I think we can provide quite a bit of value, is how to leverage the Power Platform within the Microsoft ecosystem. So you've got Power BI. Nobody wakes up in the morning and wants to implement ERP. We're doing it for our data. So leveraging Power BI and leveraging the power of what you can get in your data and analytics and the AI capabilities found within. Power Apps. The legacy environment that you're probably sitting on has at least several examples of custom code that you had to write to be able to manage your business. But what Power Apps brings to the table is the ability to write low code, no code add-ons, enhancements to your platform, and really give you the power of being able to continually update the business and change within a very meaningful way for a low cost. So Power Automate, the ability to automate those processes and have data flow from one place to the other. As you're evaluating this decision to migrate, use the power of the cloud, use the power of Azure, use the power of the Power Platform, and really take it as an opportunity to change the way that you're looking at your data model, the way that you're looking at how your workers work. Where do they work? What kind of devices do they use? And we're going to talk about some of that momentarily.
And Kevin, I'm glad you brought up the Power Apps and Power BI, but Power Apps in particular, because so many people are not aware of what this tool can do. And so there's a preconceived notion because of these changes I've made over time, 10 years, 8 years, whatever it is, modified the code to my platform for my business. There are tools there like this Power Apps that Kevin mentioned. I can't underscore. If you walk away from nothing today, please take the time to get educated or talk to us and let us tell you what Power Apps can do for you. Sorry, Kevin, I'm jumping.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Wow. So there's a whole lot going on here. So when you look at the Dynamics 365 and the different enhancements that are out there, I mean, we talked a little bit about Power BI, the Power Platform we just mentioned. You know, Kevin's a little bit more familiar with these others, Advanced Dist and Builder. So, Kevin, I'd like you to touch on them. I'm more, as you know, I'm more the plumber, the traditional cloud guy, and you're a little bit more in the app space. So if you wouldn't mind just touching on these, that'd be great.
Sure, Russ. Yeah, the fact of the matter is we've talked a little bit about the cloud capabilities, and Russ and his team specialize there, and Russ has an entire team of people who are dedicated to getting the most out of your cloud, whether that be Azure, whether it be AWS, wherever your data resides. Russ and his team can help you, even in a virtual private cloud. Should you have, as you're going through this journey, for instance, to D365, if you wanted to put your legacy environment, either for historical purposes or because the migration is going to take some time, into a virtual private cloud, Russ and his team give you the capability to help manage that cloud. We've talked about Power BI and the Power Platform. Advanced Distribution and Builder, the value that an Innovate can bring to the table around the platform is we build offerings on the platform. And so whether we have a number of advanced distribution applications out in the App Store that can enhance your supply chain, whether it's our Builder application, which is built for construction companies and offers things like project management, equipment management, analytics, payroll for that industry, for example, or whether it's VimPoint. We have both VimPoint and DrinkIt, which are solutions that we've helped to develop around the wine industry, which is a personal favorite of mine, I don't mind telling you, and DrinkIt, which is for bottling companies. So part of the goal of working with these enhancements and bringing Innovate's capabilities to the table really is to extend the application and give you all of the power that you need for your industry.
You know, this is actually one of my favorite slides in the deck. So when you think about making any move to the cloud with any given application or applications or looking at your environment as a whole, there should be some basics that when we say what's in it for you, these are some things that should happen by the sheer nature of making the move to the cloud. Data protection, I hope, is fairly obvious. I mean, there's been all sorts of stories. Quite frankly, we had a customer just the other week that got hit with ransomware on their on-premise network. We were able to replicate and save a ton of data out to our cloud and some services that we have there. So by leveraging, again, data protection should be there. And quite frankly, some heightened quite a bit compared to what you probably have on-premise today. Business continuity. Everybody likes to talk about disaster recovery. Well, it's really more about the day-to-day. Somebody comes outside corporate, cuts that internet line. You're down the water. Well, now with these cloud solutions, as long as your team members have access to the internet, right, they can still do their work and function. And we're seeing that today with COVID. I mean, COVID has literally changed the landscape. I think everybody will agree that the workforce, the distribution, nice segue to the next tile, it's changed forever. And we have to accommodate that. We have to find solutions, which really, to me, the most important thing here along the economics, the security, compliance, data protection, but it's about the end user experience. If we can heighten the end user experience, then we are going to accomplish something not only for your customers, but also for your team members. And I think when you put this together and you think about it, and you put the economics together, I scratch my head. Clearly I've done it too much because I rubbed all the hair off, but I often go, this is, to me, is the definition of a no-brainer.
Yeah, and while it's true, Russ, you are a little bit biased towards the cloud and the cloud message because you've been providing value in the cloud, for many years. What has happened, this change in our world, you and I have talked to many of our clients who, they were used to being tethered to a desk in an office. They were used to getting up, driving into the office or flying somewhere to do their job. And now they're having to do everything from a device somewhere else, right? They're sitting in their home office. They didn't know how strong their Wi-Fi was at home because they were working in an office. So the performance around their business applications became front and center. So having a team like yours to help them navigate that has been very beneficial. So if you're in that part of the journey, you've bought into the fact that it's not if I'm going to move to the cloud, it's when, and you're evaluating whether or not Dynamics 365 is the right fit for you. We thought it would be a good idea to talk about some of the things that are available in the marketplace to help you along your journey. So the first thing is something that I'm very passionate about. Russ hears me talk about this all the time. Often, it feels like these decisions to migrate kind of jump up and surprise you. Like you've talked about it for 2-3 years, maybe 5 years, but all of a sudden it becomes something that you have to do because something isn't working properly. Well, a better approach to that would be to embrace a partnership with a company like Innovates. Again, we listen, we challenge, we collaborate. I would offer that you should come to us and have a whiteboarding session with us. And we can do that virtually. We can do it in person, depending on, we're starting to see our clients are asking us to begin being on site. It's not frequently. And by the way, no pressure with that. We can do quite a bit remotely. We've adapted very, very well. But get your personalized advice on cloud, ERP, your industry, and how it's being impacted. And we'll work with you to build a business transformation roadmap. And if you want to do that, I would suggest going to innovate.com/free-whiteboard-session and request a whiteboarding session with us. We would love to spend our time with you and your team.
And Kevin, even if it's not what I'll call a traditional whiteboard session, even if it's just questions, please come to us with questions. We're here to provide service, and if it's to answer some questions, that's certainly acceptable as well, of course.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. So the Microsoft CSP Enhancement Renewal offer, one of the things that I tell our buyers all the time is gain the value of the investment you've already made. And Microsoft is providing opportunities to get up to a 60% discount on Business Central Cloud users. And there's a 1-to-4 concurrent to named user ratio that they're providing you. That's the CSP transition offer that's out in the marketplace right now. If you don't know about it, then you got to ask the question. If you're an Innovate client and you don't know about it, please call me directly because it is something we're talking with all of our clients about. You should know about it. You should be evaluating it. In all my years of doing this, I've never seen Microsoft be more aggressive.
It's an amazing offer. Yes.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
With offering an opportunity for you to evaluate this. You agree, Russ?
Like I said, it's amazing to me. I've never seen them do anything this aggressive, quite frankly.
And one of the misconceptions about the offer is, well, if I do this transition, am I going to immediately have to get off of my legacy GP environment, as an example? And the answer to that is no. And we'll talk about some of your options that you have with that. You get dual use rights with the CSP transition, but very, very definitely you should be looking at the CSP Enhancement Renewal offer if you're on a legacy product. So if you want to talk about ways that Innovate can make this offer better, and our goal is to help you navigate the process, right? So because we can offer you the readiness and the migration assessments and tools and whatnot, we're right there on this journey with you. The tools and the licensing offers that Microsoft puts out there gets you a part of the way there. Then we can offer you that kind of white glove treatment, that concierge treatment. We can give you the assessment of your current environment. We can give you a trial migration. Russ, I'd like for you to talk about the idea, the notion of a sandbox environment and what that can do for an executive.
Sure. So part of the offerings that are out there, as Kevin mentioned, is to stand up a sandbox where, we can take, data that you allow, obviously, and place it in this sandbox, allow you to test out what works, what doesn't work, even play with some of the modification, play with some of the tools we mentioned like Power Apps and see how that's going to benefit. One of the things I always am fascinated by those who truly take advantage of a sandbox environment, what they end up finding is they can change some processes that they thought were holy and would never, ever change, and it benefits the business immediately. So, and again, back to what Kevin said earlier, when you have the right partner guiding you through and looking and understanding your business processes and applying and challenging some of the notions that may have been around forever in this sandbox environment, you can do whatever you like. So there you go, Kevin.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And then beyond the sandbox and beyond the assessments and migration strategies, every partner has their strengths, right? And one of the things that I try to tell people all the time is that one of the biggest strengths that Innovate brings to the table is the ability to provide you with that ongoing support. So the application support, the cloud support, all of that for your Dynamics installations. So from a Dynamics 365 migration readiness assessment perspective, we have worked directly with Microsoft to write the scripts and the code for the tools that we can deploy on your environment to take a look at your GP environment, SL, NAV, and really what it comes back with is knowledge around your environment. What kind of servers are you running? How many are you running? What versions are they active on? How many users do you have? How many custom fields do you have? How many ISV products do you have? We're collecting data with these tools. And like I said, Microsoft is deploying these tools in market, and they have worked with Innovate to build those tools to roll out to the entire market. So the goal there with the readiness assessment is to discover and learn about your environment, gather all of that information, query the databases, identify where the risks are, and give you that clean migration path to the cloud and lower your total cost of ownership by giving you really good data so that you know what you're getting into when you get into that cloud migration.
And that's where the roadmap exercise comes in, Kevin. So you're now taking a lot of subjectivity out, and we're now putting objectivity into the roadmap, which I think is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. When it comes to these migrations, Russ, we know that whenever you deploy an ERP solution, there's going to be a multiple enhancements or ISV solutions in play. And our job as part of your migration process is to work with you to make sure not only that we give you the best experience you can possibly have migrating, so readiness and working with your data and configuring it properly, giving your end users testing and training, and then supporting those applications moving forward. Our goal is also to help you evaluate, do I need them? We have phenomenal partners in the ISV community, and they create wonderful, wonderful solutions. As D365 matures, some of the functionality is built into the product. So part of our goal is to work with you to know, what do I need? How should I roll out my migration strategy? Can I use a templated solution to deliver so that it happens faster and more streamlined as it relates to working with your data? And the other thing that I would say is those ISV partners, one thing that not a lot of people know about the Microsoft ISV ecosystem, a lot of those partners, when we moved from GP and SL and NAV into Dynamics 365, those partners had to become cloud ready. And Russ, who did they come to update their own environments and be ready to interact with the D365 platform?
I know, Kevin, it could have been us.
It was us. It was Innovate. They came to Innovate, and we worked with them from a development perspective, DevOps, cloud support, Azure support, all of it. And should give you the peace of mind. I said earlier, you've always got a choice of partners that you work with. I would tell you that Innovate's strength is exactly this. It's the migration and long-term support of your platform while you're going through that process.
So There's a lot of different approach to Dynamics migrations. We have some pretty unique things that we're doing out there around no upfront migration costs, looking at a long-term relationship with our clients, not a short-term project-oriented relationship. And I think as you read through these, I don't need to read all of these to you. What I hope you're seeing here ties back to when Kevin was talking about innovate. When we talk about our relationships with our clients, it's personal. It shows in the ways here that we are trying to be flexible to work long time because we know it's a journey. It's not a sprint to one point and you're done. So these options that you see in front of you, they didn't come just from Innovate. They came from Innovate's clients, Innovate listening and bringing these to the market.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Russ, another thing that 2020 did for me, I got all my content in the cloud, right? And that I was thinking about that earlier, right? So I got Netflix, I got Disney Plus. I had to watch The Mandalorian, you know how that is. But that says something about how I consume content, and that made me think of a book that I know, Russ, you and I both know about, which is called The Membership Economy by Robbie Kellman Baxter. What that makes me think about is we as consumers, you and your company, we're different buyers than we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And what Innovate seeks to do is meet you the way that you want to buy. We want to serve you the way that you want to buy. And we have most of what we do in this space is in a waterfall approach. So it's linear. One thing happens and then the next thing happens and then the next thing happens. But buyers are more agile than that. I can tell you that if I wanted to watch The Mandalorian, I don't mind sitting on the couch and clicking the purchase button at $7.99 a month, $7.99 a month. Had they asked me if I would give them $90 up front, I might not have done it. But the $7.99, that was a no-brainer. Heck, I can watch, Baby Yoda in no time, right? So that tells you how I, as a consumer, buy. Well, ERP, granted, it might be a poor analogy because we're talking about something much bigger, but it is human nature now to want to buy in a subscription membership-based approach. So what we've sought to do is really provide you with options to break this down into a more agile approach and let you subscribe to these services in a templated approach. So the next two are really points of interest that I think we want to just make you aware of. I talk to CFOs all the time, Russ, you know this, and more often than not, if I said to a CFO, hey, I think you should look at financing these projects, they look at me, they say, look, that's very presumptuous of you, first of all. Second of all, we don't finance anything. We're cash flow positive. We like to pay for our business decisions and whatnot. But here's what I'll say as a business person. The access to capital is very, very easy to get to right now. The cost around that capital is very low. Cash is still king. And what we're seeing are very progressive business leaders who are leveraging this availability to capital to, instead of tackling small projects here and there, we just had a client the other day decide instead of doing a short 6 to 8 month engagement, they signed on to do a 3-year engagement. They financed it and they rolled out the cost payments over the course at a very low rate, by the way, extremely low rate. And so they broke out a 3-year engagement across a monthly payment. And they were able to tackle multiple challenges that they had in their business and not impact their cash flow at all. So if you've not looked at financing in the past, don't treat it like it's a bad word. I would absolutely take a look at it and take advantage of what the marketplace is providing you right now. And another one that I'm not a tax professional. I'm about as far from a tax professional as it gets. But that same client, when we asked them if they had maximized what's known as the IRS Section 179 benefits of the tax code, they took a look at it and talked to their accountants and came to find out that they hadn't leveraged it. So because of looking into it, in 2021, the Section 179 deduction limit is over $1 million. And what we're finding is the larger companies are leveraging this deduction, but mid-sized companies are not maximizing it. Maybe they're using a small part of it, but you can use it to write off subscription software, ERP, CRM, you name it, hardware, software. There's a number of different things that you can absolutely use it for. So that client of ours was able to use the Section 179 tax benefits, financing, and get 3 years of work pulled together without impacting their cash flow at all. Seems like something that would be worth a look, right, Russ?
Totally agree. And I would tell you, for those of you who are in the accounting world, check the language. It's quite interesting how the IRS is treating subscription-based software. So do check it out, to Kevin's point.
Yeah, and that client who did it on December 30th because they wanted to file it under the 2020 tax year because they hadn't maximized that year, and then they have 2021 tax year also. So interesting data point for you.
Go ahead, Kevin.
No, I was going to say, so Russ, why don't you talk to us about, so we've made that decision, right? I mean, shouldn't the time be now?
Well, it should be right now. It should have been a while ago, quite frankly, for a lot of us. But again, things did change over the last 12, 13 months. So I'm not a huge reader when I come to presentations. But the offers that we've gone through, some of the things that we've talked about, we've got the bullets here. There are so many positive things from enhancing the business, your processes. We've talked about some of the economic benefits. We've talked about the ability to work with someone to create a roadmap to a destination of success. And we've talked about all the things that you as a consumer of these services should gain, if you remember that slide. So it really is the time now, because who knows what 12, 13 months from now looks like, whether it's the economics. I mean, we hope all this has changed. But it really is a good time to take a look at your strategy, ERP, the associated applications. Everybody likes to talk about just ERP, but there's these other things in your business that surround ERP that are critical. All of that needs to be roadmapped together, again, with all these different offerings that we've discussed today.
Absolutely, Russ. So what are my options? We've talked about it. We've agreed. The time is probably now. Leaders are making business decisions. Leaders are making plans. Leaders are moving forward. Laggards are sitting back and standing on the sidelines and waiting to enter the game, saying, put me in, coach. That's not the right approach, right? So what are my options? Well, you start with cloud-based ERP. We're talking about D365. You've got Business Central. You've got F&O, FNSC. You've got options there. Take a look at it. What is the right fit for you? What is the right functional fit? What's the right footprint? Do I have the talent to be able to maintain this environment? Should you be leveraging our cloud expertise more broadly around the ERP? From an implementation perspective, should you be looking at limited scope implementations? Now, a lot of our clients, if you know that an implementation is 6 months out, 8 months out, 12 months out, 18 months out, could you not be leveraging that CSP migration and then take your legacy environment, put it into a virtual private cloud, at the same time, create that sandbox for D365 and get some of your data in there so that you can start leveraging that and start proactively working towards your goal. And then potentially design a limited scope approach, a phased implementation that allows you to take financials first and then supply chain or project management or whatever your industry requires. But know that you can take varying approaches. You don't have to eat the elephant in one bite. Right, you can break this into more manageable bites. And then, Russ, you want to talk a little bit about private cloud versus straight Azure and then VDI?
So sure. I mean, so we're talking about options here, right? So there are options, and something that my team spends a lot of time on. Actually, when we get to client stories, we're going to give some examples. But some folks, because for whatever reason, they decide they're not ready to move to D365, but they still want to move their application or applications into a private cloud or into Microsoft's Azure cloud. So we do that at Innovate. We do that for very complex ERP, GP, since we're on GP track, happens to be the number one Dynamics ERP system that we actually manage in our private cloud or on Microsoft Azure, fully managed, and it's a great story, happy to talk about. And there's reasons why clients, and again, I'm going to give some examples, 2 examples later, so I'll save that. But virtual desktop infrastructure, VDI, for those of you who are not familiar with it, our clients who have taken advantage of this offering from us, we do this in partnership with Citrix, by the way, another great partner like Microsoft with us. Those clients, that took advantage of VDI during this whole crazy mess, they were literally able to give their end users, their team members, a very office-like feel as far as what the desktop looked like. We took out of the equation viruses on local home machines that have never been taken care of. I mean, I could go through a litany of things. And the last one, when we talk about the options, some people say, well, I'm looking at my options to take advantage of cloud services. Disaster recovery as a service, we use a tool from Microsoft called ASR, Azure Site Recovery. It's a great tool to test the cloud and see what are those things that maybe I don't have a great DR or business continuity plan. What are some things I could take advantage of in the cloud space to help me with DR or business continuity? And this tool from Microsoft ASR is a great example. And quite frankly, it's ridiculously inexpensive, really. So anyway, that's what I got, Kevin.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, what you just heard is, I don't want to admit this to him, so don't tell him I said this, but Russ is pretty smart. And if you leverage him and his team, I think you'd get quite a bit of good feedback around how to leverage these technologies.
Please don't ever say that again, Kevin, but thank you. It's very nice of you.
Yeah, I told you, don't tell Russ.
Don't tell Russ.
So ultimately, all of the paths that are in your way, all of the obstacles that are in your path, and by this point should have been removed. We should be able to, with you, if we put a plan in place and we work together, drastically reduce the duration and the effort to go from your legacy environment into D365 Business Central. If you have any doubts about Business Central, update the information that you've got in your data banks. Go and do some research. This is a solution that has continued to mature and is ready for prime time and ready for your business. We should be able to remove the risk of unplanned migration costs by giving you assessments, a plan, and a team of people that do this every day. We do it for Microsoft. We do it for our ISV partners. We do it for you. We can ensure you the lowest price by giving you a templated approach, by giving you all of the offers that are out there in the marketplace, because we want to maximize your cash flow. We can reduce the risk of unplanned business impacts, so tolerance to downtime. We know your business cannot withstand the disruption. Ultimately, we are going to do everything we can because at Innovate, to us, it's personal. We're going to give you the benefit of every offer that there is in the marketplace, and we're going to help you make a good decision. So I would ask that you give us a little bit of faith and give us an opportunity to earn your business as it comes to your migrations. But if you don't believe us, Russ, how about believing our clients? I think you probably have a couple of stories to tell here.
I do, actually. So this first story is a nonprofit, relatively new client to Innovate. They are about 600 GP users across the Southeast. They had GP and a bunch of ISVs, by the way. I think there's maybe 7 or 8 ISVs and a couple of core key applications that were designed. So they were hosted with another virtual private cloud provider. That provider was acquired, and unfortunately, the client really began to suffer service interruptions, poor performance from end user perspective. The service provider was missing on their SLAs. So we worked with the client's CIO and leadership, showed them definitively how we could help move them from where they were over to Microsoft Azure and produce a fantastic and a wonderful, what happened was amazing. So I'll never forget, I'm getting kind of red in the face. The CIO called us up about a week after go live, and he said, I cannot tell you how thankful we are and appreciative of your efforts. The end user experience that we're already receiving, the accolades are fantastic. We are able to give them some security around PCI that they weren't able to achieve where they were, that they needed done. And now they're in a long-term relationship with us. And by the way, I don't have the client's name up here, but if you ever want to talk to them, they'd be more than happy to talk to any of you out there. So, Kevin, I think you might have one out there as well, or two.
I do, and they're one of the largest not-for-profits here in North America, to be honest with you. In the healthcare space, we have a client that was on GP 2018 on-premise. Their servers were crashed. They were on older versions. They were really struggling with their infrastructure. They were in a vulnerable, high-risk location. They were really struggling to maintain and have their business be up and running and live. And and they didn't have the technical capability to make sure that happened. We migrated them from GP into from their on-premise GP into an Innovate private cloud, and we really helped them strategize and how to run their business and manage their business. They fully leverage our 24/7, 365 cloud support. Ultimately, this is a client that will have a long-term relationship with us because they got to wake up every day and provide healthcare support to their communities and not have to worry about ERP at all.
Yep, absolutely. So the cloud compliance story. So this is an interesting customer, GP 2018 on-premise stated. They were going through some compliance challenges. They're getting ready to do some pretty major network enhancements. Their largest client is the federal government of the United States. So they have some FIPS, ITAR. I mean, there's a litany of compliances that they have to deal with based upon the type of services they deliver. So they came to us to ask for support in this. So we were able to migrate them from GP on-premise to our private cloud. And by the way, we keep talking about virtual private cloud and Azure, Microsoft Azure. If you ever, I'm happy, and this is not the appropriate time, but if you ever want to go through what the differences are and why they exist, I'll be happy to have that conversation. But in this case, this client actually wanted to be on a virtual private cloud because of the compliance, because of the enhanced security features that we were able to give them. And by the way, we have to work with their auditors all the time, which is fine. That's part of the service they bought. And again, another long-term relationship. And we just went live with them. And again, the feedback that we got has just been fantastic from the client.
Yeah, that's great, Russ. Well, the reality of it is, at Innovate, we obviously told you from the very beginning, we take your outcomes very personal. We try to put a human approach into ERP and cloud. You're dealing real people making real decisions and building a real partnership. And ultimately, that is our goal. Our goal is to give you the benefit of having a partner, not a VAR. You've got choices. We know there are tons of value-added resellers out there. I don't want to be that. Russ doesn't want to be that. We want to be your partner. We'll bring everything to the table that we can possibly bring for you. We will bring you templates. We will bring you industry expertise. We'll bring you cloud expertise. We are the best migration partner in the world, bar none. And ultimately, we want to help you make this decision. So that being said, one final reminder, go to innovate.com/adventure. Please play the game, answer the questions, follow the hints. See if you can win that home theater prize that Russ.
You're not eligible, right? You're not eligible.
No. Rumor has it that home theater package is going to get brought over to my house. I'm going to make the popcorn. We're going to use it here.
I'm going to take a picture of it and send it to you through text. All right.
Awesome. But thank you all for joining us. Here's our contact information is up on the screen. We love talking about these topics, and we really want to work with you. Should you need the guidance and support, please don't forget to stop by our booth here at DynamicsCon, our virtual booth. Or talk to one of our professionals. We would love to help you on this journey and look forward to communicating with you in the near future. Thanks. Have a great day.
Take care. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. And I have to say this before we get to any questions. For those of you who watch this in its entirety, the fact that Kevin worked in Baby Yoda still kind of gets me laughing. I'm not going to.
I had to bring the Mandalorian into play, man.
Yeah, exactly. Only you could do that. Well, thank you all for attending, and we're here. If you guys have any questions, we're here to answer.
Russ was having a dialogue with one of our clients the other day, and one of the questions that came up while we're waiting to see if anybody has any is kind of about the difference between, we all know about SaaS. We know that D365 is a SaaS solution, but what's the difference between a true SaaS solution and a hosted solution?
Well, so it's one that we get often, right? So a SaaS solution, right? Obviously, as you stated, software as a service. So it is in what I will call a shared environment. So it is more defined in a box, if you will. And so there will be certain things that you may or may not have access to in that SaaS environment that you might have on-premise or a hosted environment.
So a hosted environment is exactly what it sounds like. So we take applications, we provide them, place them, if you will, migrate and place them on Microsoft Azure or our virtual private cloud, depending upon the needs of the client. And it's fully managed by a provider like Innovate. When I say fully managed, we're doing the patching, we're doing the ticket resolution, et cetera, et cetera. So there are benefits to either side. And in the presentation, when I talk about access, so for example, if you have a hosted or on-prem version, you might have certain access, for example, to SQL. You might be running SSRS, reports and modifying tables and data mining. Well, that's where Microsoft has gotten really smart. We talked about Power Apps and some of BI, some of the other tools. They're now allowing people to do some of the same things in the SaaS environment that not that long ago, quite frankly, were not available. You had to be on-prem or in a hosted environment. So again, it really just depends on the needs of the client, where they are with their processes. We talked about that in the presentation. So I'm going on way too long, Kevin, but it's a very good question.
I just love listening to you talk, Russ.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Makes my day. You mentioned in the presentation a couple of times, you talked about the cloud roadmap. Yep. And I think one of the questions that I get all the time is, when we hear cloud roadmap, what exactly does that mean? What should I expect if I'm a customer that's looking to engage with somebody external from their own environment to build that roadmap? What should they expect?
So I love that question. So, because I see people do it all the time. So most people go roadmap and they go right to product. And for me as a business professional, that kind of crawls up my skin. So the starting of the roadmap process has to be around understanding the client's processes to accomplish what they're doing today in their business. So once you understand process, you can then start to roadmap what solution or solutions are part of that roadmap. It could be short sprints, it could be long sprints, it could be agile methodology. You mentioned waterfall. I mean, there's different techniques to take you along this roadmap. The other thing to me that's so important about doing a joint roadmap between the client and the service provider, and I think a big miss by a lot of service providers out there, is not doing a great job articulating the responsibility of the client through the roadmap. This is not, hey, I hired you, service provider, take me from A to Z. There's skin in a good long-term relationship. It is a relationship. And when a service provider outlines through this roadmap the client's responsibilities, joint responsibilities for success, that makes that roadmap very interesting and also has a defined result-oriented goal, which I'm a big fan of. So I think I answered your question. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I definitely think you did.
Well, Kevin, I'm trying to think of, you mentioned you talk with different leaders, quite frankly, right? CIOs, CFOs, CEOs. I mean, you in particular, you get a little bit broader gambit. I tend to deal more with CIOs, CTOs. And I'm curious, when you have the discussion around migrating from wherever it may be to D365, are there one or two things that come up in these conversations that you see in a repetitive format? Does that question make sense? Or is there a common theme or themes you're seeing out there right now?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that comes up is the history that somebody has with migrating solutions in their past. We all know that on-premise, in particularly on-premise ERP solutions, they're critical to your day-to-day business. There's risk to downtime. You typically have quite a bit of personalization or customization, maybe even a number of different applications that interface with them. So any executive that's been through a migration or an upgrade in the past has some battle scars. And one of the first things they talk to me about is how can we minimize risk? It's the answer to that begins with a little bit of what you were talking about a minute ago, which is proper planning. Have a roadmap, have a plan, know how you're going to execute, assess all of the values and all of the points of risk prior to entering into it, right?
Right.
The second thing is it's a part of why we want to get you into an evergreen solution like D365, so that upgrades later, when a patch or an update comes out, being in that cloud solution, we're not having to lift up that code and release and whatnot. It's a much easier process. So it's not without pain when you migrate. There's always some pain and impact to the day-to-day business, but planning properly and then getting you into a solution that will minimize your risk moving forward is usually kind of at the crux of the discussion. A little bit around the cloud versus on-premise. There are still, a lot of the executives who are making these decisions have gone through their professional careers with a solution on-premise in a server room down the hall, and somebody's maintained that, and they haven't really had to think about it. So there is a little bit of, for these executives, they have to let go of some of their past decisions and realize the benefit, and they're realizing the benefit of it. Actually, I think it's stress relieving to them once they get into the cloud and realize they don't have to maintain those environments.
Right. I think that's a great point. And, Kevin, we're coming up on time here. So I'm going to ask you, I don't want to call it a curveball because it's not a curveball.
I can hit the curveball.
I know you can. You're a baseball player. We got you. Because I think it is important. In the presentation, we talked about options, the flexibility of how we can deliver and work through solution delivery to our clients. But I want to just end up on, because it does hit home for us at Innovate. Can you just close up with, again, just kind of reiterating why it's personal to Innovate, why we take this human approach to migrations, why we wake up every day and we have that desire to not make it a business transaction, but to make it personal. I'd like you, if you could just kind of wrap us up there, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The reality of it is anytime a client or a prospect chooses to do business with Innovate, they've provided us with a great deal of trust. And when you talk about an ERP solution, it's really the heartbeat of an organization, whether it's a supply chain or a professional services firm or a not-for-profit or whatever industry you're in. The fact that all of these transactions flow through an ERP means that there's a significant amount of impact when it comes to these solutions. We know that you have choices when you are deciding who you want to partner with. Keyword being partner. A partner in the Microsoft ecosystem is known as a value-added reseller or a VAR. I've always found a VAR to be almost a name that I didn't want to be called, because to me, that just means that I'm a technology provider. I always wanted to be a trusted partner, a trusted advisor. And at Innovate, we take that very personally. It's right in our core value statements. It's right in everything that we do in our business. We challenge, we collaborate. We help you make the most out of your business, and we take your risk and make it our own. So I think the important element of making a choice to work with Innovate is when you look at the examples that we gave today, when you talk to some of our clients, there are an awful lot of very, very talented partners out here in the ecosystem, and I respect all of them. I mean, we've worked with many of them over the years. The one thing that I think we do at Innovate that I think really stands out is we have, right down to every single team member, taken your risk on as our own. We have made it personal, and you hear the stories about companies that had flawed or failed implementations. Our goal is to make sure that you always get across that finish line, whether it's a small project, an assessment, or a migration or a full-blown implementation. We take that very personally, and we give you every resource that we've got, and we guarantee that we will get you across the finish line.
That's great. Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it because you're so eloquent when you do that description. So I appreciate it.
So rarely. Thank you for giving me a topic I could be eloquent about.
So thank you all very much for attending, giving Kevin and I a listen. We put our contact information out there, and I think it's called Brella. Please reach out. We're here to be a resource. And again, thank you all for your time, and I trust everyone out there stays safe. Talk to you soon.
Please visit our booth as well. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.